Welcome on into the Old Aussie Rules YouTube channel. We've got another video coming your way today, and it's the 2025 season review for the Essendon Bombers. As each team gets eliminated this season, we are doing a season review for each team, looking at the season that was, all the games they played, the key stats for their season, injury lists, best players by position, everything you need to know basically from their season. And we'll wrap up the video with a little look at their B&F count according to our All Aussie Rules rating system. So we've got all that to come for the Essendon Bombers over the next 25-30 minutes. So stick around. I hope you enjoy. There's plenty of other ones of these out already. The bottom three teams, we're working our way up. So go check them out. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Like the video if you enjoy it, and don't forget to leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of the Essendon Bombers 2025 season. Let's jump into it because that's what we're all here for. Let's have a look at what there is to know about the Bombers 2025. They played 23 matches, as did every team in the competition this year. They won 6 games, lost 17, and their percentage ended on 69.5%, 15th on the ladder, so 3 teams below them. Bottom 4 finish is not ideal for anyone, so they'll be a little disappointed with that, I think. Averaged 66.7 points per game, 96.04 against, 16th in both of those positions, giving up a 30-point loss basically on average per week. 44 players used, which was by far the most in the AFL. I think there's only 3 players on their list that didn't get a game this season, which is crazy numbers. 15 debutants, also crazy numbers, AFL record, outside of like Gold Coast and GWS when they started. Crazy numbers across the board for the Bombers. Average age of 24.81, which has them as the 16th oldest, or also known as the 3rd youngest team this season across the 23 matches. 88.65 average games, so 15th most experienced team, so not much experience on their list. Not so much on their list, but getting games. Like that number was, both of those numbers were bumped up by players like Todd Goldstein, who probably played a lot more games than the Bombers probably planned on giving him at the start of the year. But due to the injuries to their ruck stocks, they just had to. Record against the top 9, they played 12 matches, lost all 12. Not that surprising with where they are. Their record against the bottom 9, a lot better looking. 6-5 is pretty solid. But all 6 of those wins did come early, like in the first half of the season. At that point, I think they were 6-0 against the teams that finished in the bottom. In the bottom 9, I think their first loss to a team that finished in the bottom 9 teams was round 13 against Carlton. So they certainly looked better early season. Injuries and other things just ended up taking a toll on this Bombers team, and they just faded away, which is a common thread for them over the last couple of seasons, fading away towards the end of the year. So, yeah, just another year of that, really. Let's have a look at their season match by match. This is what it looks like. They started, obviously, opening round getting postponed due to the weather up on the Gold Coast. So that game got pushed all the way back to their last game of the season. Round 1, they finally kicked their season off, losing to Hawthorn by 26 points at the MCG. Not a bad performance. Not great, but certainly not a bad performance. Round 2, played against Adelaide at the MCG, which in hindsight now is, an acceptable loss. Adelaide ended up minor premiers, but they did get beaten quite comfortably that day. 61-point losers. They did offensively score quite well. They hit 100 on that day, but still lost by 10 goals. Round 3 was a lot better. 5-day break for both Port Adelaide and Essendon. The Bombers came out and won it by 12 points. It wasn't the prettiest of games, but it was a win nonetheless. They then had their early season bye. Came out of that with 2 more wins, beating Melbourne by 39 in Gather Round, and West Coast over in the West by 2 points. Once again, not a pretty win. Probably a winnable game, that one, for the Eagles, but The Bombers got the points. So they'd won 3 in a row at this point. They then lost to Collingwood on Anzac Day by 41 points. Midway through the third quarter, they were well and truly in that game. They then beat North Melbourne, Sydney, both of those at Marvel Stadium, so big wins. Only narrow wins, but really good performances there. Lost to the Doggies by 91 points, which was a really bad performance, before beating Richmond by 23 points, which was a good win. So at that point, they'd won 6 games out of 8 between rounds 3 and 11. And they were sitting in a spot where, like, finals was like a chance. They were suffering a lot of injuries. I don't think it was a realistic chance, but based on where they were on the ladder, you couldn't write it off. But then going into the bye, things started to well and truly fall apart. After that Bulldogs loss in round 10, it continued. Brisbane only beat them by 18 points, and they were in that game in the third quarter. It definitely was a winnable chance for them. Carlton only beat them by 8 points once again, a game that they could have won, but then after that it was all downhill. Geelong beat them by 95. Fremantle beat them by 41 going into the bye. They came out of the bye losing by 41 again to the Gold Coast. This time it was in Melbourne. Richmond got them by 9 points in one of the worst games and performances you'll see this season. Giants got them by 48. Bulldogs beat them for the second time by over 90 points in the season. 93-point winners, the Dogs. Sydney by 14. Geelong beat them by 44. St Kilda by 2. Carlton by 34. And the Gold Coast Suns in the rescheduled match beat them by 95 points to round out the season. Not great finish, let's be honest. 13 losses in a row to end their season. Is not great. It's not ideal, let's be honest. You never want to lose 13 matches in a row. But that's what happened here. They had a lot of big losses too. You look at it, 4 losses by over 90 points this season. Somehow, none of them over 100. The Bulldogs got them by over 90 twice. Geelong got them by 95, as did Gold Coast there in the final game. Plenty of other losses in that 40-plus range. A couple 40s, a 60. So plenty of big losses. All their wins were pretty close. The Melbourne one at Adelaide Oval was their best win of the season. Yeah, that's pretty much a sum up of the Bombers season, I think. It started okay. Injuries took their toll and they couldn't keep up, but they put in some good performances in that back half of the season, but yeah, not good enough to get wins is basically the long and the short of it. Looking at some of the key stats, we're not going to go through all of these because obviously there is a lot of stats there, but feel free to pause and have a look and see what you make of it. They're a high disposal team, both for and against. You look at it, the third highest amount of disposals for in the competition, but also second most disposals against them. So they have high disposal games. Somehow you're the third highest disposal team in the competition and your opposition get more disposals than you. It's a lot of uncontested football. Second most uncontested for, second most against. So crazy numbers that they do play. It's a very uncontested brand of football somehow. Contested football, they're not great at either. 13th in terms of differential. Not great numbers there. Their disposal efficiency is high, but once again, uncontested football from both sides of the ball leads to high disposal efficiency for both teams. Intercept numbers, not terrible, not great. Clearance numbers, not great this year. They did struggle with centre clearances and stoppage clearances, especially on the reverse side, the other team. Really took control of clearances. Marks, nothing special. Obviously, goals and behinds, they're lowly ranked in terms of scoring, being the 16th highest scoring team in the competition. Accuracy-wise, far from the worst, but certainly nowhere near the best at 46.3%. Not great in terms of the opposition as well. They do score better accuracy than them. Shots per inside 50 is an interesting one, because if you go up to the inside 50 tallies, they're the 15th most amount of inside 50s per game for any team this season, and their shots per inside 50 is 18th. That suggests that they're not getting many shots off when you're not getting the ball in there too often, and you're also very poor at turning it into shots. So that's something they need to work on, is getting those inside 50 numbers up, but also creating shots when they go inside 50. 15th was their differential for inside 50s this year, so minus 7.8. You're not getting the ball forward, you're going to struggle to score goals. Pretty simple. In terms of scoring avenues, scoring sources, if you like, offensively, they're pretty much across the board very similar. 16th for kick-in, stoppage, and turnover scoring. In terms of scoring origin, 17th, 17th, 15th from defensive half, forward half, and centre bounce. So centre bounce is probably their best area there. If you're looking at differential in points, stoppage are not too bad for a team that do lose stoppages quite regularly. Like clearances, overall they minus 1.1 per game, but only minus 4 points per game, which isn't too bad for a team that was so bad in terms of point differential for the season. So I think that's the one positive from it. Their turnover scoring was obviously quite bad, minus 4 goals basically throughout the season per game. Defensive half, 2.5 goals, forward half, 2 goals. So you kind of expect that from a lower ranked team, but yeah, the numbers aren't spectacular across the board for the Bombers. So yeah, that's basically everything on the key stats side of thing that I think needs bringing up. Tackle numbers pretty good, as they were last year. I think they were top 3 in terms of tackle numbers. This year they're 4th, so pretty similar. In terms of differential, that is, which they're not going to be high in the actual tackle numbers because it's uncontested football games that the Bombers play. We'll jump into some player stats and summaries and whatnot. We'll start with all the players on their list. Not all the players that missed 5 or more games, but all the key players. There was obviously a lot of injuries on this team. And yeah, that's the long and the short of it. Darcy Parish missed 20 games, so only got the 3 in. Nick Bryan, he got injured pretty much straight away as soon as he came in. He wasn't their starting ruck, but once he came in, he got injured basically. Only played the 4 games. Elijah Sartis, he missed a fair bit, a lot of that in VFL, but he only played the 5 games, so missed 18. Sam Draper, he was their starting ruck forward early season and missed pretty much most of the season, missing 18 games. Harry Jones also had a bad injury. He only played 7 games, so he missed a lot as well. Kyle Langford was in and out of the team a bit as a key forward and kind of changed roles later season, but he missed 14 matches. Ben Mackay missed 13. Jordan Ridley also missed 13. Jai Menzie, 13. Zach Reed, 13. Jai Caldwell missed 12. Matt Guelphy missed 11. This is a long list, guys. Will Setterfield, 10. Dylan Shield, 9. Laverde, 9. Nick Martin, 7. Nate Caddy, 6 matches all missed throughout the season. So it is a long list. It's a big list. But, yeah, what do you expect, I guess? Injuries did hamper their season. There is no two ways about that. Players that were on their list in 2024 that were no longer there this year. Heppel retired last year. We'll get into that role in a minute when we go position by position, but I don't think that hurt them too much. I know he rated reasonably high last year at a 52.14, but I think that's one of the positions that maybe they're almost strongest at, is that general defender role. Jake Kelly retired as well last year. His numbers last year I don't think were good enough to consider him a big loss this year. And final one is obviously Jake Stringer left the club, went up to GWS. His rating actually is slightly lower this year for Stringer than it was for the Bombers last year. I think his ability to kick goals and be a target up forward is something that the Bombers certainly missed this season. I'm not saying it would have made a huge difference, but he definitely would have scored goals. He definitely would have been a target up front for them. He has been injured a fair bit for the Giants though as well, so that's probably not something that they need at Bomberland. This year was more injuries. We'll go position by position now. We'll start in the back line with the defenders and the general defenders to start with. This is using the All Aussie Rules rating system, which we give every player a rating and a position and everything, every single game. It spits out the numbers, and this is where they ended up rating for the season. So obviously 2025 rating is this year. Rank is their positional rank this season. 2024 rating is on there, as is their position rank for last year. And as you can see, their general defender line is a very inexperienced in terms of last season numbers, with 3 of those players not playing last year. 2 were unranked last year, so played 5 or less games, and only 2 that actually did play last year. So a bit of a rotating thing, a couple experienced players at top, but certainly some youth coming through as well. Mason Redman, I think he was really good. He finished the season really strong. His rating went slightly up. His last month, 5 weeks, was really good, I think. Andy McGrath showed some good numbers. He locks down opposition attackers quite well. I think he's underrated in that role. His rating slightly lower than last year, but probably slightly more defensive role for him this year. Archie Roberts, he's probably one of the big improvers. I know his rating doesn't look that much different last year to this year, but he showed some really good signs. He's probably certainly in the top 5 for the rising star. I don't think he's quite going to get it. He was at one point my pick for it earlier in this season, but I think there's maybe 2 that are ahead of him in Murphy Reid and Dan Curtin. But he has had a fantastic second season in the AFL this year. Jackson Pryor's come across from Brisbane. Didn't get much opportunity in Brisbane. He played every game for the Bombers this year, which is obviously something that they really needed with all the injuries that they were getting. His numbers solid without being outstanding. I'll be interested to see how he develops over like this off season into the next. Zach Johnson played the 9 games, nothing too special, but was okay. Saad El Hawal, good again without being a world beater. Showed some good signs, good run and carry, and Jaden, we haven't seen much of. He's unranked, so if you play if you don't play at least 6 games of at least 50% game time, you will be unranked. So he obviously only playing the 5 matches is unranked, and his rating is pretty low. Moving into the key defenders, Jordan Ridley somehow rates really highly as that key defender. I think it's because he plays a lot of the distributing role as well, so he gets a bit more of it than most key defenders. His rating's certainly down on last year, but 10 matches, injuries obviously affecting their whole key defence line. Zach Reid, his numbers not too bad from his 10 games. Jaden Laverde, rating a little bit slightly down on last year, not much difference. Lachlan Blackiston playing his first games, showed some signs again without being a world beater. Their big disappointment this year, I think, was Ben Mackay. His rating was well down. He was really struggling for form in those first 10 games before injury hit and ended his season, but he'll be wanting to come back and bounce back to his 2024 numbers, which I think were actually quite good. I don't think it was like a world beater by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he was a really dependable defender in 2024, whereas this year, outside of maybe 1, maybe 2 games, he was quite poor, I thought. And Lewis Hayes played just the 1 game, so it doesn't have a rank, but his rating in that game was pretty solid without being anything to write home about. Moving into the forward line, we have a whole range of players in the general forward role for Essendon. Some of these played a lot of different positions, not just general forward. The key one here is Nick Martin. Obviously, general defender last year. He played a lot more up the ground this year between general forward and outside mid in a fair chunk of it. Also inside mid at times. Really high rating. Was looking towards potentially being a consideration for All-Australian, I think, in my opinion. Up until he got injured with, 7 weeks to go. If he had had a really good end to the season, maybe he was in that contention again. maybe not. They didn't win many games, but he was playing some really good football. I think I like him up the ground a lot more, facilitating that forward entries. He can be very, very effective. So yeah, I quite like him in that forward line, or even on the wing. I'll allow as well. I don't think they need him as a general defender, distributing the ball out of the back line. I think they've got enough options back there. Archie Perkins, his rating's down on last season. He went from an inside mid to more of a general forward this year. So technically, rating probably should just go down just due to that. But he's a weird case, this one. We'll see if he can come back and build on this next year. He shows signs of being really good at times. His pre-season practice games were good, but just couldn't quite put it together in season, I don't think. Jade Gresham played 19 games, so got a fair crack at it. His rating pretty similar to last year. In fact, exact same ranking in the general forwards as last year. Kako in his first year, their only general forward to play every game. It's not ideal when your first year player is the one playing every game. Showed some really good signs. Played a little bit of inside mid towards the end of the season. I think we all have reasonably high hopes that Kako will be a star of the future. Once Essendon start getting more use of the ball in that forward line, he'll be a lot better suited. It's hard to be that general forward when your team's not getting the ball forward that often. Ben Hobbs played 18 games, similar spot to last year. Jai Menzie showed some okay signs. His last game was his best game when he kicked 3 goals against Gold Coast. But it's already been announced that he's not going to have a contract for next year with the Bombers, so it'll be interesting to see if anyone picks him up. Matt Guelphy played 12 games. Didn't reach the heights of last year. He missed a bit of football last year as well, but his rating well down, and I just felt like he didn't have that same output that he had last year. Harry Jones had a bad injury pretty early season, had just the 7 games. And then 3 players that didn't play last year: Oscar Smart, Archer Day Wicks, and Reece Unwin. None of them are ranked again this year, but also didn't show massive signs in the games that they did play. Moving on to the key forwards, another injury-ravaged area of the ground for them. Peter Wright played 19 games, actually rated quite highly as a key forward, which is interesting. 8th best, up from 13th best last year, so some solid numbers there from Peter Wright. He does play that backup ruck role, which probably helps his rating a little bit. Kyle Langford, 9 matches, so he missed a lot of football this year. Rating well down on last year. Last year he was exceptional. That was career best. His start to the season last year was fantastic. So not that surprised he didn't reach that level again, especially when you consider how many injuries and whatnot he had. But he'll be looking for a good off-season and hopefully can get somewhere back towards that rating of 2024. Archer May played the 7 games, showed some really positive signs without being exceptional, but I think he's definitely got a future in this Essendon lineup. Nate Caddy played 17 matches this year, so played a majority of the season, missed a little bit. Again, showed some really, really good signs at times. I don't think he's quite ready to be that leading key forward, which is why it's important that players like Langford or Wright are out there just to allow Nate Caddy to be that second key forward. But he definitely has the potential over the next couple of years to take over that mantle. Liam McMahon played the 7 matches, was okay, and Thomas Edwards played the first couple games of the season after coming into the team late as an SSP player and got injured basically straight away. So bit disappointing for him, but he showed enough, I think, in those games to suggest that maybe they should stick with him and give him another go. Moving into the midfield, we have, obviously, I think it's not that surprising to say, their best player, Zach Merritt. Missed just the 1 game, which was like, what was that, round 22, I think? Yeah, round 23 maybe? Round 23, possibly. Either way, he missed the one game, but his numbers again really good. Obviously was ninth best inside mid last year, whereas only 19th this year, so it's slightly down. But his early season form was outstanding. It was a long season and one where he had to carry a lot of load throughout a lot of it. So still very highly rated player. Another fantastic season from him. He pretty much single-handedly gave the Bombers something to smile about in round 2 when they lost by 60 points to the Crows. I think he kicked like 4 goals, had 30-something touches. So he's absolutely a sensational talent and played another really good year. Joey Caldwell played 11 games, slightly higher rated than last year. I think he had some good signs in that midfield role. Sam Durham, he's rated pretty much exactly the same as last year. I think another one that showed some really good signs and that he could take off and be a lot higher rated. And the Bombers need that from him, I think, to really step into that obvious second inside mid for them. If he can get his rating up to mid-60s, that would be huge for them. Dylan Shiel, he played the 14 games, actually rated very similar to last year as well. I think he was solid in that role. I think he's another one that was told that he won't get a contract next year with the Bombers. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with him. But I think he's still got enough to give, or what we saw this year was at least good enough to be probably in their best 22. Will Setterfield played just the 13 games. His rating down on last year, but he didn't play many games last year, so maybe this is more his true rating, I guess. Darcy Parish just managed the 3 games, so didn't get much output out of him. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him. And Elijah Sartis, only the 5 games, unranked this year. His rating, he hasn't been given enough opportunity, I don't think, yet. So we'll see how he plays once he does get a bit more opportunity. Hopefully for his sake, that is sooner rather than later. Outside mids, Xavier Dersma is their repeat outside mid from last year. His number's slightly better in terms of rank, but slightly down in terms of rating. So make of that what you will. I think he was very similar to last year across the board, pretty much, in my opinion. Angus Clark, in his first year, came along mid-season, came in with that really good debut game where he kicked 3 goals, I think. In the first half, he was solid. He showed some good signs like that game. He also played a bit of general defending down back. I don't think he's a world beater, but he's certainly a solid enough prospect. Lemon Luau, 12 matches, he rated quite lowly across those 12 games. So we'll see what that means for him going forward, but we didn't see a great deal to suggest that he's ready to go. In the ruck position, obviously another position where they had injuries. Todd Goldstein started the season probably as their 3rd ruckman, ended up having to carry the load, 16 matches. He competed week in, week out. His rating's not great. They're ranked 20th in terms of ruckman in the competition. And if you look, both Sam Draper and Nick Bryan, had a higher rating than he did. And that's not at all to be unexpected. He was meant to be their 3rd ruckman for this season, and in the end had to carry that load a fair way through. But I think that's an even ranking for what we expect from him these days. Obviously, his best games are well past him. Sam Draper, he was meant to be that swing key forward / ruck role, and his rating's pretty solid across the 5 games he played of 58.65. He had some really good signs. I'm not convinced he's a world beater by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he's somewhere around about probably that number 10 to 12 ranked ruckman in the competition. So yeah, teams probably will chase him. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up and what the Bombers do with this ruck role going forward. Nick Bryan, slightly lower ranked than Draper. He only managed the 4 games, rated slightly higher than last year. Yeah, he probably will have a big role in this team going forward. And Vigo Vicentini played just the 2 games, Didn't get a great output from him. I think was definitely subbed out in one of them, I believe. We'll see what he does in the future. Young ruckman, obviously, it's a very hard role to play, something that takes a while to develop. So I think we just ignore that rating completely, and see what he gets up to over the next couple years will be very big for him, and to see exactly where he's at. Position summary. This just summarises where each position basically. Elite is in the top 10% of that position in the AFL this season. Top class is 10 to 25%. Above average is 25 to 40%. Average is 40% to 60%. And then below average is 60 to 100. As I said before, unranked is players that didn't play at least 6 games of 50% game time or more. So they have a couple elite players on the rating system this year, key defender and a general forward. A lot of top class players compared to the teams below them, at least. A general defender, key forward, inside mid, outside mid. So they've got some decent players and decent numbers in this team. You got to remember they are a team that get plenty of disposals, so that does help their numbers in their rating system a little bit. Only the 3 above average, but that's not too bad when you consider they have 5 in that top class range. Interestingly enough, there's 17 players that are average or better, so that's in the top 60% of their position, which is pretty good numbers. The 3 teams below them all are at like 13, so they certainly have, I think, enough talent to probably not compete genuinely, but they had enough talent on their list this season to be in that range of probably 10 to 14. But injuries have absolutely hampered their season. There's no doubt about it. A lot of unranked players. I think that they've got the basis there. They just need more depth and more better consistency at getting games and not so many injuries, basically. Move into their BNF and round out this video. It's gone a little bit longer than I planned, but that's okay. Best and fairest numbers, no surprise here. So basically how this numbers at BNF count works here at All Aussie Rules, top 5 players for every team get votes every single game. If the team wins, they get 10, 8, 6, 4 and 2 for the top 5 players. If the team loses, you get half of that, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that shapes up like this. Zach Merritt wins it. He'll have to win their BNF this year. There's no way anyone else gets it. I've got him on 74 votes. Sam Durham on 53. Nick Martin on 44. He was in contention. He was a little bit below Zach Merritt when he got injured, but it was certainly should have been probably in the top 2 at that point. Mason Redmond finished the season well, 38 in 4th spot. Jai Caldwell with 32 in 5th. Andy McGrath, I think, was pretty solid this year, 29 votes. Dersma gets 20 on the wing. Sam Draper only played the 5 games, gets 19 votes. So a full season out of him. Might have had him in an interesting spot on this ladder. Archie Roberts gets the 17. Will Setterfield gets the 16. Dylan Shield, 15 in 11th spot. Peter Wright gets 14 in 12th spot. Zach Reid, 12 votes in 13th spot. Then Jade Gresham in 14th with 10. And Jordan Ridley in 15th with 8 votes. That's their BNF. That's everything for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a little bit longer than I planned, but that's not too bad. I hope you found the content interesting. Jump in the comments. Let me know what you thought of the Bombers season 2025. There'll be more reviews for teams coming up over the next 3 or 4 weeks. We're going to get through every team in the AFL. There's 2 podcasts every single week, so make sure you check them out. It's All Aussie Rules everywhere on social media. Go find us and interact with the content. Subscribe, like, follow, all of those things. This is the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll catch you on the next one.